Anyways, okay. Yeah, got it. Okay, well, anyway, thank you for having me. So I'll give you a little introduction about myself. I was born in 1957. I spent my first 13 years in Santa Ana, California. I'm a Southern California boy. And then my teen years, I grew up in Irvine. Um, and I attended Orange Coast College, where I studied film. And then in 1979, I started going to Cal State Fullerton, where I graduated in 1983 as a music composition major. While I was in uh, college, I joined a fraternity, Phi Kappa Tau. An interesting story. Doc, who's a good friend of um, both my wife Pat and mine, um, he told us for years that he was in a frat and I was in a frat, but we never bothered saying which frat we were in. And then about 2 weeks before he moved to Africa, he came down the stairs. I was at his house and he had a Phi Kappa Tau shirt on. And I said, my God, we were brothers all these years and we didn't know it. So we were both part of the same frat all those years. But the best thing I got from my college years was my wife. We were in choir together. She was an alto and I was a tenor, and we met over a cup of spiked coffee that she spiked with homemade Kahlua over an all-day rehearsal, and that started 38 wonderful years that we had together. And we were married in 1987. I went back in 1984 and I got my teaching credential, and I graduated in 1985. And I started teaching in Long Beach, California, where I taught for 3 years there. Pat and I got married in 1987 in November. And shortly after that, in 1988, we moved with our son, Bryn, up to Lake Stevens, Washington, where I taught for 12 years. And while there, we had a daughter, Allegra, who was born in 1989, and another son that was born in 1992, Hayden. And then I went back to school to get my master's from Western Washington University, which I got in 1991. In 2000, I moved to Port Angeles, where I taught for 21 years at Hamilton Elementary. And my wife got a job teaching at Crescent School out in Joyce, where she taught for about 15 years. And during the last 20 years, I was involved doing drama and doing musical productions with Paloa and Readers Theater Plus and Peninsula Singers. And I finally retired from teaching last June. And unfortunately, that same month, my wife passed away from a stroke. So my retirement certainly looks much different than I thought it was going to look. But she left me with three wonderful children. My daughter, Allegra, and Hayden live here in town. My son right now is downstairs with his new puppy. And our oldest son, Bren, and his family live over in Spokane Valley, where he's a welding supervisor. And I've recently started volunteering back at Hamilton Elementary, reading with kids again, and that's wonderful. My interest in Rotary, I think, started when I went to meetings with my dad. He retired in 1980 after a long career running a large hardware store in Orange County, California, and he was very involved with the Squim Rotary Club, and he was the salmon bake specialist. He sold salmon bake tickets and ducks, and so I went to many meetings with him, and I was just always very taken by the way that Rotary would serve the community, and I really liked the four-way test. I always was taken by that. I liked the way that they were kind of, was a fun group, but it was also a group that didn't have a lot of it didn't have a lot of rules. It didn't have a lot of faulty-roll. It just was, what can we do to make the community better? What can we do to get back to the community? And I remember my dad saying that he worked so much. He worked really long hours at this hardware store running it. And he said, I didn't have time during my working career to do service organizations. And so he spent 35 years. He had a very long retirement. He's really threw himself into Rotary and gave back to the community all those years. And I was just really taken by the club. And so, I told my wife, when we were talking about, what I was going to do when I retired, I said, well, I'm not sure I want to golf. I want us to travel and all that. But one thing I do want to do is I want to join Rotary. And, Doc and I are good friends. And so, he talked about the morning Rotary here in PA. And so I said, well, if it's good enough for you, it certainly would be good enough for me. And then, so that's why, I sought you folks out. And so, anyway, that's, I'm interested in giving back to the community and using my retirement time to do something of value. And, I've been so fortunate being a teacher where I could give back to other people. And so I'm looking to do that in the next chapter of my life. And so I'm thinking Rotary would be a good way of doing that. So anyway, thank you for having me, and I'm really looking forward to being a member. And if anybody has any questions, I'll do my best to answer them.
Trent, on behalf of all of us, we're very, very pleased for you to join our club. So
thank you very much.
It's great to hear about your past, and you typify what returns are all about. So
thank you.
Very, very happy you picked us to join. And
well, thank you very much. And I'm very, very honored and pleased to be part of it.
Thanks. Rob, do you have something to announce?
Just something quick. Happy Bucks. So I didn't share this with many people, but